What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So the final of the Detroit Pro just wrapped up, and this was a really, really solid top two. This was, I think, one of the best top twos we've seen in a while. Outside of a major show like the Arnold, Ohio or the Olympia, this was a fantastic top two. Very comparable physiques between Martin Fitzwater and Good Vito. Similar size, similar shape, and Martin came back at finals and really brought it. He looked to me significantly drier and actually fuller too. And I think he really closed the gap. I think it was, I'm very curious to see the scorecards because I think it was much closer at prejudging than it was here. And like I said, I had Good Vito winning at prejudging, but then I think finals, you watch this comparison at the top two for the finals, and I think it's hands down Martin. Martin really improved pretty significantly for these finals. I mean, shot for shot. I mean, if you look at the separation in his legs, much deeper, crisper separation and just drier than he was at the prejudging. His upper body, the conditioning looks better. Particularly the front double bicep pose. I'll show you guys these pictures. Bodybuilders Without Borders, they put up side-by-sides of how much he improved from prejudging to finals. And I think this front double bicep shot is a really good example of that. If you look at his front double, the separation in his arms looks better. The separation in his legs, deeper, crisper. Even his midsection looks tighter, although he is doing a vacuum pose in the finals and then a crunched abs in the prejudging. But you can see a substantial change in his physique just between morning and night. I mean, look at the difference. The separation in his legs, the separation in his arms. He really tightened up for the finals of this show and really closed the door to win this show. So I felt like finals was a much different story for Martin. I think he really, really closed the gap here. And like I said, I think this was a fantastic top two. Good Vito was on. Martin was on. I think Good Vito at prejudging was tighter than Martin. Then I think at finals, Martin was tighter than Vito. And I think as freaky as Good Vito is, he's got these crazy body parts, like the crazy big separated quads. He's got the crazy front double bicep. He's got a really small waist and a vacuum pose for a bigger guy. Martin is really, when you really break down his physique, he's a lot more balanced than Vito. He's got, like, something you typically don't see with a guy like Martin is the fullness and the 3D look that he's got to his delts, his chest, his back, his legs. He's got this really 3D look. So especially at finals, when you look at them compared, even though I felt like Vito at prejudging was tighter, Martin, when he's dry like this, he's very difficult to beat. Because, like, if you look at his chest in some of the side poses, or really any of the poses, you can see the striations in his chest, and they're much bigger and fuller than Vito. So with Vito, he's got things that stand out, like his biceps, like his quads, like his waist. But you can kind of pick things apart with Vito that you can't with Martin. So Martin at finals with this big, full, now also dry, striated chest, that's hard for Vito to overcome. And like at prejudging where Vito looked tighter, that wasn't the case at finals. So even though in the back poses for Vito, he looked sharper at prejudging, at finals, Martin has that really dense 3D back, especially the upper back, that Vito doesn't really have. So Vito would have really only won those back poses off of conditioning. And now that Martin at the finals was so conditioned and dry, I don't think Vito won either of those back poses. So I really think that Martin, the time that he took off to improve, really did his physique well. He looked phenomenal here, and just head to toe. I mean, very complete bodybuilder. And I was really impressed with his lower body here because, like we've seen, Good Vito is a freak in the lower body. He, like, at the Arnold Classic South America, Vito by far, front, back, side, had the craziest, biggest, freakiest legs in that lineup. Here, Martin really, from a size standpoint, front to back, his legs were very comparable to Good Vito. And especially, he was in shape, but especially at finals, with those deep separations. Martin also had the cross striations in the quads. When he turned around, deep, striated hamstrings. And I do think that's really one of the things that stood out to me most about Martin is I expected him to be really good here. I expected him to be top two. I expected him to look phenomenal, and he did. But I didn't really expect his legs to look as good as they did next to Vito. It really surprised me because Vito's legs are just out of this world. And Martin really stood toe-to-toe with him very, very well. And I really hope that Vito does a few more shows and tries to get the Olympia qualification because now Martin is qualified. And I think Vito can win a show. I do think he's that good. And that's why I really like this top two, is it's not like Vito was off. It's not like Martin was off. This was a really competitive top two, really comparable physiques. Both guys were on. Both guys, really, for shorter guys, both guys look pretty freaky. I even saw somebody make a comparison in the comment section. They said that Martin looked like a white Phil Heath. And I like that comparison because this round 3D look that Martin has is very reminiscent of Phil Heath. And I think you've absolutely got to look at both these guys, Vito and Martin, and think how exciting bodybuilding is right now. I mean, Martin wasn't really on the map. They didn't even invite him to the Arnold Classic, Ohio. And I remember he submitted an application, they rejected it, and that was kind of a topic of conversation. And now here he is looking phenomenal, winning Detroit. Good Vito just made his pro debut at the South America show, looked phenomenal, took a top 3 spot, and here, taking second to a really good bodybuilder in Martin Fitzwater. And both these guys, they're young, they're new. Martin has rapidly improved his physique from where he was a year ago. I'm starting to think that some of these new young guys, like Martin, like Vito, Brandau's not new and he's not young, but Brandau with the improvements that he's made, I think some of these guys that are going to qualify for the Olympia this year, I think are really going to shake up that top 6. I think we could see an entirely different top 6 at the Olympia this year that really includes a lot of these new guys. And again, hats off to Fouad. He did exactly what he said he's going to do. I'm a huge fan of the background and the lighting for this show. The plain black curtain in the back. It was perfect. This is exactly what the fans wanted to see. And perfect for a smaller show like this that doesn't need to do, the big flashy LEDs and all the smoke and lasers and all that stuff. A smaller show like this can, on a smaller budget because they don't need as many sponsors, they can do a plain black backdrop. And because I believe Fouad is sponsoring it with Hostile, his own company, I think that probably also afforded him a little bit of the luxury to not have to do, a big background full of sponsors right behind the bodybuilder. So it was really cool. And like I said in the prejudging video, I think we really need to make sure we take time to appreciate when a promoter does a good job, because I know that we as bodybuilding fans are very critical, myself included, when a promoter we feel doesn't do it right, or we don't like the lighting, or we don't like the stream, or we don't like the background. We're very vocal about that. So I think we should give credit where credit is due. This was a really well done show from the perspective of a bodybuilding fan. Really enjoyable to watch. The lighting was great. The backdrop was great. And this was such a good top 2, such a surprisingly good top 2. I feel like a lot of us figured it would be those two as the top 2. But I really didn't anticipate both of them being as good as they were, both being such young new guys. This was like an Arnold Classic caliber top 2. These guys look great, and it really truly impressed me. What a great top 2 this was for a show that initially people were like, "Oh man, there's only 6 guys. Is this going to be that entertaining? Is this going to be, that competitive?" That top 2 was competitive for sure. I can't wait to see these scorecards because it had to be super close, especially at prejudging. This was phenomenal. I loved everything about this show. I even liked being wrong about having Vito winning because Martin came back at finals so correct, so improved. He was like undeniable. And as a bodybuilding fan, you love to see that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below about the show, about the decision, all that good stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel, and consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.